Okay, part 4, science, fair science, the story about Dr. Rusha. I'm going to pick up right where I left off with part 3, see if I can angle that down a little bit better. Right after part 3, picking up here, part 4 of fair science. The staff rolled in a small car covered with a white sheet. "This is Benny's." "Benny?" said Dr. Rusha. Benny was very, very shy, and even a little scared, and without a word, he just stepped forward and walked over to the vehicle. The doctor shouted, "Show!" and the staff member pulled the sheet off and threw it into the air. It cascaded down to the floor like a smooth landing parachute. Benny said nothing. Dr. Rusha said nothing. Benny opened the car door, started the engine. Dr. Rusha smiled and said, "It runs on salt water." Salt water. Now, we know what we can do with our oceans. Use the unlimited resources. You know, we have not been to the deepest part of the sea. We don't even know where it may be. I don't think it is bottomless, but I do believe it is deep enough for us to tap into as a fuel for some of our transportation means. I'm going to go back and rework that and make that into a little rhyme and poem. Anyway, much like all of our inventions, all of your inventions, discoveries, and projects, these tools save money. The environment, and this one, could even put a cease to the wars over oil and gas. Now, come with me. Leave your machines running. I love the sound. Oh, wait. They are very soft in volume, aren't they? Well, they are, but you sure weren't, were you, Susie? Or just after I cut your hair. Ah, he impersonates her. I got a bunch of scribbled notes in there. I can't even see where I'm going. Phil and Benny, I do apologize for any misfortune brought to you as well. I was going to tell you earlier, but none of us could breathe. Dr. Rusha was not trying to hurt any of these children's feelings, but he was giving helpful criticism in order to challenge them and get them to improve what they've started. What Dr. Rusha did next outweighs every outlandish behavior they saw so far. He laid down on the floor, face up. Then, using back handspring, he put himself back on his feet and exclaimed, "Let's jump to it!" And the tour began. Strolling down a long hall with the children behind him, he told them a brief background of how and why he built this mansion. "This is not just my home. This was my dream since I was a little boy, like you. Well, like you, Susie, but a boy. I used to sit in the woods, and there I found encouragement and gained knowledge of what could be developed using not abusing nature. My parents sometimes had trouble finding me, but I always returned home because it was there, at home, that I could build an extension of what nature already did for us. The inventions I enjoyed working on the most were based on the way insects worked, such as the first bulldozer. I followed the ways moles burrowed and pushed around dirt. The dung beetle pushes dung with its back legs. Imagine pushing that around all day long, that big ball of poopy. That made me think of how a backhoe could be used. Other animals Even our domestic dogs dig with their front paws and throw the dirt underneath themselves. That one I'm still working on. I watched a spider and saw how it used a web. That led to safer window cleaning contraptions and building scaffolding. Then I studied anteaters and elephants and other creatures of nature that inspired me to build the crane. The cherry picker machine was an imitation of a giraffe that could reach up high. Uh, all that Dr. Rusha was saying meant a lot coming from him because he was the one who invented all those machines. He stopped abruptly and again turned to face the kids. This time they kept their distance so they didn't run into him again. He looked down at them and began to say, "You know, kids," he stopped, looked up at the ceiling, and then bent down on one knee so he could look them in the eyes, and he said to them softly and gently, "You know, young people, you and what you have invented is an enhancement of what has been around for years." The three looked at each other and then back at Dr. Rusha. He saw they needed further explanation. "You may not realize it, but Susie," he smiled. "Suzanne, your contraption uses air and the others use water for power. Yes, it needs a small electrical voltage to start, but once in place, look how it keeps running and can be used to complement our own personal hygiene." A small smile started to form on Susan's face until she was just beaming with light and pride. In her head, she thought how this compliment made up for the correction and embarrassment she went through earlier. However, she was still upset about her unplanned haircut. She felt so good it almost made her forget that she couldn't stand being called Susie. Almost. "And you, Phil," the doctor went on, "you use the chemicals that lightning bugs use. If you squeeze a lightning bug and break its butt open, there's a toxic fume exerted, but they are so small it has no effect on us. So let's figure out how to make your source of light breakproof or unbreakable, if possible, and everything will be fine." His voice was calm and soothing. Dr. Rusha then extended his hands and put it on Benny's shoulder. He then addressed all of them. "Class, you three are special. You have a gift. Each one of you has put together scientific principles and laws of nature to form utilities I have wanted to put together myself. Benny, you have now given us an opportunity to run the heavy machinery and personal vehicles without filling our air with tainted gas and oil fumes." Benny looked down at his feet, humbled by the compliment. Dr. Rusha then stood to his feet and collected himself, saying, "Now, don't get all mushy on me. It is one thing to be passionate and grateful for the things around us. It's another thing to shed tears. Wait, maybe if we all cry enough, we could fill the oceans with our tears, and that would help provide fuel for the Benny buggy." That was supposed to be a joke. Funny, ha ha, you know. None of them found humor in what he said, so he just turned back around to press through the mansion's extensive hallways. "Let's press on." Dr. Rusha began to walk faster and faster until he was running full speed. The children had no trouble keeping up with him, but the walls zigged and zagged. The unexpected corners did challenge them, and out of nowhere, the doctor stopped and put his back flat against the wall. The kids' momentum didn't stop, and they ran a few feet beyond where the doctor stopped. They turned and came back to where the doctor's body was frozen against the wall, like this. Frozen against the bright white wall. "Okay, we're safe now," the doctor said. Susan was the first to ask what all of them wanted to know. Safe from what? As she looked around, Dr. Rusha smiled and answered, "I'm not sure, but we are safe, right?" They all kind of chuckled in agreement in unison, said yes. The children were finally realizing that it was okay to have fun and play along. He then said, "Okay," tapping his palm against the wall, and it slowly opened. "Hurry, before it closes," he encouraged them. They quickly squeezed into the next room, avoiding being crushed by the rotating wall. Once again, the three of them took an eyeful of the entire room that had just been revealed to them. They all let out a wow. "I call it my biodome," said Dr. Rusha. It was huge. Phil asked, "What is that huge box or room in the corner over there?" Dr. Rusha chimed in with great glee. "Oh, yes, that is what I call the nocturnal room. It's a pod with the windows painted black. In there, I observe how and what things grow and glow, recreate and evolve in complete darkness." "What is that?" asked Benny, pointing to an area with a strange-looking animals. Dr. Rusha put his hand over his mouth and used them as if he were a tour guide speaking into a fuzzy-sounding microphone. He began, "Folks, attention, folks, attention. We can stand here in the doorway and see things from the sky, or we can come close. By the show of hands, how many of you today would like the tour to begin?" They all raised their hands, playing along. "Okay, folks, stick with your buddy partners as we travel around the biodome, dome. He jumped to the front of the line and said, "All aboard," as he led the way like a train, moving his hands accordingly. I added that. It's not written in there. They listened and looked carefully, not wanting to miss anything, as he said, "This is basically an extravagant greenhouse, and oh so much more. This is where I grow organic as well as inorganic plants and animals." He turned and walked backwards to better see the kids and for them to hear him better. "Over here on my right, your left, you will see a typical garden like you may see in any American farm country. I grow everything in this area the exact way the FFA, the USDA, the USA, and the PTA do." That's right, I said PTA, the Parent Teachers Association. "I don't withhold one single chemical, pesticide, or other artificial coloring or poisoning used in this day and age. Over here, to my left, your right, behind the 100-foot high and 1-foot deep glass window, you'll see the all-natural. This is the building, deep plastic window. You'll see the all-natural. This building is built here because it is directly above a real fresh spring water hole. The well forces out and up ice-cold water from the depths of caves below, which we will visit later. That section is allowed to grow without any interference. Above you'll see a type of trapeze made out of natural trees and real vines. You may have seen something like this in the circus. These are for the orangutans, as well as other animals that use the tops of trees as a mode of transportation. Behind me is what may look like a huge cage for all Homo sapien life forms. Susan said, "You mean animals, not people, right?" Dr. Rusha smiled. "Now, Susie, surely you know what Homo sapiens are." Philip swallowed hard. He was a little nervous, but answered, "Mammals, right?" Benny said, "But not all mammals can survive on land. You..." He looked at the other two kids and then to Dr. Rusha and said, "Whales, dolphins, they're mammals. But you," Dr. Rusha said, all Homo sapien life forms." Dr. Rusha mentioned for them to come close and said, "See for yourself. Look, observe, study." One by one, each child began to see a human. "There's a man," said Susan. "Very good, Susie." She looked at Dr. Rusha and rolled her eyes as she said, "Susan, sir." "Of course, as you wish, Susie," he said out of the corner of his mouth. She grunted in frustration. Benny said, "There's a whole family of people over there." Philip said, "Where?" Then he too noticed more and more people walking around, crawling in and out of shelters they made, climbing trees to reach figs growing up high. Some were washing their clothes in a stream of water. Dr. Rusha said, "Now, kids, before you call the FBI, the CIA, or MTV on me, let me explain what everyone living in there has volunteered. They've decided, dedicated themselves to science, just like those who go into foreign countries or uninhabited places. What we are doing here is providing controlled environments, diet, and other ways of life to find out how nature and the science of our surroundings affect us." Philip shouted, "What the what?" He pressed his fingers against the glass and said, "There is smoke coming from over that mountain. Is there something on fire?" Dr. Rusha bursted out laughing, amused, "Eh? No, 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 no. Whoa, whoa, no. Don't be alarmed. Did I say no? The smoke you see over there isn't coming from a fire. Well, let's climb the fire tower and see." They walked around a few bends of nice paths decorated with colorful flowers on each side. At the end of the trail was a huge tower. They climbed it and were able to see the area under the dome went on for miles. Susan looked out over the small mountains and said, "A McDonald's?" The doctor answered, "Yep, Susie. Fast food for those who eat nothing else." In this biodome, which, by the way, is actually the size of a small town, is divided into territories. Some of the people eat nothing but fast food. Others are vegetarians. There are even fancy restaurants for the at the farthest parts of the dome for those that only eat Ritz. Others cook their own food they buy from a marketplace. Then there are those who eat only food grown in the all natural area where no chemicals or pesticides or injected proteins are added. Guess which group is doing the best? They left the question unanswered, as it was obvious. Let's move along, the kids thought. There's more? Benny walked as fast as he could to keep up with the rest. Almost out of breath, he stated, Dr. Rusha, I knew your mansion was listed as the largest house in the world, but I had no idea what you had in here. He stopped, put his back against the wall, as he did earlier, and whispered, No one knows. He shifted his eyes right and left. Then he said, almost so soft, almost too soft to hear, It's the best if we move on and move. It's best now if we move on and move fast. The kids got the impression that there was more of a mystery than they knew. The mansion was spread over several miles, but was linked to the other locations by intricate tunnels. On maps and from the air, the place was known as breeding grounds for rare plants, thus explaining the greenhouses. Little did anyone know that they were all connected. The real reason Dr. Rusha was moving so fast was that he could show and tell them as much as possible. The hall they were walking in began to go down. Are these where the caves are? Asked Benny. The answer was no. Oh, heavens no. We more than likely will not have time to see those, but I know you will enjoy this. They came to a dead end. He stopped and put his ear against the wall and asked, Do you three know how to swim? Susan said, I'm not going swimming. No, not swimming, Susan, but you may have to tread a little water to survive. There was a slam from behind them. The walls surrounding them had dropped down into the floor, revealing an aquarium that made them feel as if they were in the middle of the ocean in an oversized submarine. Cupping his hands around his mouth again and faking walkie-talkie sound, the doctor said, Okay, folks, this is on the most intricate rooms you will see. You are actually submerged. As you look around, you'll see every type of fish you'd see in the big blue ocean. We don't have to feed them. We have what is called the food chain. This is a division above us. The kids looked up and couldn't even see where the water surfaced. He went on. The right side of the tank contains fish found in the ocean all over the world. On the left side, respected fish that are born and raised separately from any pollutants found in our oceans. Kosher fish. Yummy. Philip noticed the fish on the right side were larger, but the ones on the left side were moving faster and seemed uninhibited. It was as if they were free. Dr. Rusha put a hand on Phil's shoulder from behind and said, Notice, no square-shaped fish on the left. Benny laughed and said, Pity. Oh, wait a minute. Did I jump up there? Yeah. Benny laughed and said, Pity. Susan remarked, I don't see a difference. Phil let out a laugh and said, Pity. Dr. Rusha's face lit up as he said, I wonder if you could taste the difference. Taste the difference, Susan. You called me Susan, she said in surprise. He smirked and said, You're right. Sorry, Susie. Benny loved how she walked right into that one. She just scoffed. You're nuts. Ah, that reminds me, kids. At the end of your visit, you will receive a bag of nuts, grown all natural right here in the biodome. Dr. Rusha raised his hand and the walls went back up with a fast jerk and a slam, and they slammed into place. Let's go to the debriefing room now, eh? Asked the good doctor. They were standing, staring at a wall. Dr. Rusha pushed on a particular spot in the wall, and the door opened to a drainage chamber. They slipped inside. The water was encasing them. There was a swoosh, and the water was drained in that area so they could get out from under the sea. Once all clear, the chamber moved upward like an elevator, and the door opened to a room set up much like a lecture hall, and the green room was located in the back. I'm going to stop there for now. Okay.